Hello, family. We're going to be sharing with you an interview that we conducted with the founders of Ahayah Academy in Georgia. We've been trying to get this interview done for some time. As a matter of fact, one of the founders was scheduled to come to one of our events earlier this year, one of the Kodesh events, and they were unable to make it. But we've been planning on having this interview for quite some time, and now we finally did the interview, and we are glad to present it to you all. There's going to be some great information shared. Right now, we are in the season where many of us are starting to look to ourselves as the option of educating our own children. We've been homeschooling for quite some time. I'm going to say more than 15 years, maybe more than that. We have older children. We have like 3 sets of children. We have our adult children, our middle children, and then our younger children. And so we've always seen, well, not always, because with our older children, we didn't see homeschool as an option because we didn't know that we could. We really didn't. Okay, and so more than 15 years ago, we started homeschooling our children, and we've been successful with doing that. We are glad to have chosen homeschool as an option. Our oldest daughter, she graduated from homeschool and actually went on to college. Our daughter, Sophia, she is actually in college right now studying to be an educator, because these are the things that we find to be most important, that we begin to educate our own. Ahayah Academy is actually a physical location. You're going to hear that in the interview, but they also have slots, a number of slots available for those who are distance learners or want to join their homeschooling platform. They're going to tell you all about it. We definitely see this as something that's great, that is being introduced into the Israelite community, something definitely needed, and we are glad to be able to share this information with you. We will leave their contact information in the link or the description area below. They've also stated their contact information in the video. But pay attention, family. Listen to the interview. It's great. What they are doing is phenomenal. So glad to see our people just doing what needs to be done. They are taking care of their business. They are handling what needs to be taken care of. There are so many things that we need to learn as a people. It doesn't just stop with the Bible. Okay, academically, our children need to be educated properly. You see, there are many different ways to educate, many different environments. You have the public school system, you have charter schools, you have private schools, and then you have those who homeschool, you see. And in a homeschool environment, that is what I like, because you can structure the way your children learn around their abilities. We have some children that are faster than others, and then you have some that need a lot more attention than others. And then the environment, being in a more settled home environment, can sometimes relieve some of the stress of being around other students that may have behavioral problems, different religious beliefs. There's a number of different things, different dietary issues in the public school. And so being in a homeschool environment allows parents to be in more control of what their children eat and what they are picking up. But Ahayah Academy, having a physical location, they do have a capacity limit at this time, but having a physical location, and they are in the truth, they are going to make sure that the dietary laws are adhered to. Pretty sure of that. For the homeschool environment, not exactly sure what their platform is as of yet for that, but they have everything in place. And they are nationally accredited. So sit back, listen to the interview, and if you feel it necessary, get in touch with the Ahayah Academy. They are down in Fulton County, Georgia, and this is a blessing to our people. And I look forward to seeing where things go. Okay, family, listen to the interview. We'd like to thank you all for joining us. We're going to be interviewing the founders of Ahayah Academy in Georgia. This is a wonderful thing that is taking place, and I'm so glad to be able to interview these 2 lovely ladies. As a matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves to our listening audience.
I'm Robyn Richardson, co-founder of Ahayah Academy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Dee Eccles, also known as Sister Gia Mariah, another co-founder of Ahayah Academy.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So
Excellent.
Ahayah Academy is, like we said before, located in Georgia, and this is an amazing thing, something that I believe is going to really catch on because it is very essential that we educate our own. The scripture actually mandates that.
That's right. I think this is so wonderful what you all are doing. When I first heard about it, my wife told me about it, and I had a chance to go to the website. I was really like, wow, this is absolutely incredible. We definitely need this for our youth.
Yes, and I was happy to hear how the doors were open when
Yes.
Sister Gia Mariah shared the testimony of how the doors actually opened for this, and the Most High made this happen. And so, first of all, we would like to have you all just kind of explain exactly what is going to be happening at Ahayah Academy.
Well, Ahay Academy, like we said, is located in Union City, Georgia, and we are a fully nationally accredited learning or center for higher education for grades K-5 through 12th grade. We also have a learning center that actually starts with 6 weeks of age and through K3 at the moment, but we are actively seeking a K-4 program through the state of Georgia. Ahayah was actually created with a mission to educate our learners and to help them to develop the skills and competencies that are required in everyday living so that they can be positive contributors to society. And so, with that, Ahayah fosters the ability for our children to overcome the challenges of everyday life. We believe that the Most High God has given everyone, a purpose, and that Ahayah exists, and He's entrusted us to accomplish His divine calling for not only our lives but for the lives of our children.
Awesome, that is awesome.
Wow, that is awesome. Um, what is the capacity of students that you'll have?
Well, currently, if you're speaking of capacity as it relates to the building, currently the space that we're in now, it only allows for 70 students or 70
Wow, that's pretty good.
I think we lost your audio, Sister Gia Mariah. Dr. Eccles. But
I can.
we're gonna go ahead and continue on. If Robyn can expound on that a little more, that would be great.
I lost where she was, but you said what was the capacity, and so presently, right now, we can house about 70 students. We have two different classrooms, and we also educate distant learners through our homeschool program. But on campus, about 70 students.
Now that is wonderful. That was actually going to be one of my next questions, where we were going to ask, do you plan on having additional locations? And then we were going to ask about homeschooling because,
Okay.
as you all know, many of our people are homeschooling. Um, or they're looking into that option because we know of the mandate where the scripture tells us to train up our children in the way that they should go. And I believe that training deals with education as well. It deals with their whole life existence, things that they're supposed to do and know in the Word, but also academically. When the scripture says, "Train up your children in the way that they should go," I believe that we should educate our own, and to know that you're going to be offering a homeschool program as well. That that's something I didn't know.
Yes.
I didn't when I spoke with Dr. Eccles. I didn't hear that bit, but so this is great
Well,
to hear.
if I could expound on that, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what happened to my connection, but it's not just homeschooling. There are two tiers.
Okay.
I think we may have lost her again.
We're losing your audio again, Dr. Eccles.
Did you want to pick it up, Robyn, so that we can keep everything going until she can get connected again?
Right. I think that she has something special that she wants to add. But
Okay.
but I will say that that is one of the most special things about Ahayah Academy is that the Most High God has given us a vision to not only educate on, on campus, boots on the ground, but we offer options to every family. Different families have different circumstances, and not everyone, lives in Georgia, obviously. So we can offer our services through the vision that the Most High God has given us to distant learners as well. So, for me, that's one of the most special, I guess, visions that the Most High God has given us.
That is awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
That is an awesome vision to have, and I'm thankful when I spoke with Dr. Eccles. She actually purchased some of our math challenge workbooks that we offer as well. We're not in no way doing what you all are doing. We just produce materials. We publish materials, and I'm glad that the math challenge materials were of interest, and at some point maybe some of our other materials as well. But it's really great to hear that you all are doing this
Well, that's the
for the
awesomeness of,
nation.
yes, that's the awesomeness of connections. I mean, you said that you offer materials, and so I'm sure that we could, we have and we will continue to use those at Ahaya. Now, you've mentioned if we would have other locations, and of course, we'd like to do things, we must do things in order. So we're just
Absolutely.
absolutely focusing on the program in Union City presently, and then whatever the Most High God leads us, wherever He leads us, we will go.
Yes. And so I definitely see the need to nurture the first location and bring it to the vision fully, and then expand. But having that the satellite homeschool option, that definitely puts you out there. And a lot of parents, I'm pretty sure, are going to look at that option because homeschool is the wave of the future, not just for our people, but so many people are venturing into homeschool. We've been homeschooling for a very long time. Our oldest child is in her 20s. Um, she actually graduated homeschool and went into college right from homeschool. And so we definitely see this. And when we first decided to homeschool,
Hmm.
we lived in Michigan.
Yes.
And there were a number of different things that brought us to that point. So we definitely see where you all are going with this.
Yeah, it's when you put your children out in public schools and you subject them to a lot of the dangers that are in public schools. I went to
Absolutely.
public school, and I tell you the horrors that I experienced as a child in public schools.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want my kids to experience any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that being said, you know, I we were like, yeah, we got to homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
So when we heard about you guys doing this academy, it was like, wow, we need more of these type of things to come about because most parents, but me and my wife, we were kind of forced to do this homeschool thing because we just didn't want our kids to be subject to that stuff. But and because we were forced, it caused us to really research it and
Hmm.
take time aside and try to work with our children and doing it. But most parents, it's hard. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
It's
they
very
work
hard.
jobs. We have a business that we've been running, doing business for years. So it made it a lot easier for us to have that time to set aside to homeschool. But a lot of children, a lot of parents are going to need something like what you guys are offering with your academy.
Yes, having the academy. And so I wanted to ask, what particular subjects are you going to focus on? I'm sure there's a wide range, and but to hear it from you, I would like to know more of the subjects that you're going to teach at the academy.
Oh,
Right. So
well,
we.
absolutely.
Oh,
Oh, okay, Rob. I was
no,
just
no,
gonna,
no. I didn't know you were back. I didn't. You go.
yeah, I don't know why my connection keeps going out, and but anyway, if it goes out again, you could just take over. I'm not sure what's happening, but we'll just continue on. Traditional subjects are covered within Ahayah Academy, namely math, science, history and geography, which includes social studies, art, spelling, writing, all of those things. And we also go into coding. Our children are coding from the K-5 on up. They're learning to code, but from the Hebraic aspect of things. What we're focusing on, and we're working with a couple of leaders from some of our ministries, one being Rebirth of a Nation or Hebrew Nation Building, and we're focusing on covenants, what the Messiah said, who we are as the children of Israel, and the Gentiles and the kingdom. And so that's from that aspect, but then also we're building out a history to support the scriptures so that we can really begin to educate our children and help them understand things, so that it's supported not just with scriptures, but also with literature that's out there and historical facts. And so that's something that we're advocates of. Now, for our physical location, we're also involved in agriculture, and we just have individuals who are coming out of the woodworks to support us. We have a family out here in the Metro Atlanta area who is going to support our program by teaching our children various ways to grow food, indoors, outdoors, some new rock thing that he was talking about. A family came this week. And when I tell you people are just coming left and right, they truly are. A family came this week, and he's going to bring his son over. Excuse me, daughter. This is a little girl. Bring his daughter. And then out of the blue, he just says, yes, and I'm going to build you a little garden over here. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is what Mrs. is doing. I mean, people are really coming in support. And to the point that we were discussing about families, it being difficult for families to homeschool, but understanding the need to pull their children out of the public school systems. We're receiving those calls right now. Just off the 2 interviews that we did, we have families that are calling. They're like, look, this is our first year. We pulled our children out of school, but we don't know what to do. They're not really equipped. And so I'm working with a family now. She has a family of 4 that range from the 7th grade to the 11th grade. And because there's so many children, we're scholarshiping a child and giving a partial scholarship so that it can be affordable. Our goal is to make sure that our families could afford it, and also to protect our children while ensuring they receive a rigorous education that prepares them to compete.
Now, that is awesome. It's really great to hear that so many of our people are answering the call, because the need is definitely there.
Yes.
It is there, and we all feel some kind of way about the public school education. Even private schools are not great for our kids. 2 of our children were in private school, and the experience with the private school was just as bad, you see. And that's when we lived in Michigan. And so it was just definitely definitive that we have got to educate our own children. And I'm so glad to see that a lot of our people are reaching out in this way. We have a lot of people who reach out to us as well as it relates to homeschooling. But this is something that you all are doing full time. And so we would be glad to direct those who need a lot more hands-on attention or hands-on system to work with. We would be happy to direct them to you all, because again, we have materials that we put together for years, but we are not a school, you see. And so I'm so glad to see that there's a place that we can direct our people to, where parents can get that one-on-one attention, children can get that one-on-one attention. This is really great.
Yes, absolutely.
And to the point that you made, Sister Deborah, about even the private schools, and we are truly a different private school, because we know who we are and we understand the challenge. And that really, because my sons, both of them go to Ahayah Academy. And in part, that was the push that we could no longer ignore, that we really did have to do something, but it extends beyond your family. And you look at your community and you say, all of these schools are failing our children.
Absolutely.
All of our need help. And so we just had to move forward and answer the call, because it's come to our doors a couple of times, and we refuse it. You know, sometimes we just don't want to move because you're into whatever it is you're doing, and then you just have to respond and say yes to the Most High. And that's what happened. And I'll let Robyn just share a story. We took our children on a field trip last year. And what was the experience like? They went to, because I wasn't a part of that trip, they went. Robyn, tell them a little bit about the experience and our students and how they responded to the other children.
Yes, absolutely. We took our students to a local establishment in Atlanta, and it was a science type of museum. And our children were there with students from the public school system, and of course, their classrooms were huge, much larger in size, maybe 2 instructors for what seemed to be approximately 30 to 40 students. And as they entered the venue, the instructors were yelling, and I mean literally yelling at the top of their lungs in the students' faces to get them to calm down and to direct the traffic and to get them to sit where they were instructed to sit.
I can imagine.
Yes, and our students were literally sitting with their mouths open. They had never seen anything such as that. And I just happened to step away to take some of our students to the restroom, and I left my bag, not my purse, but just a bag that I had carried with some supplies in it. And one of the other instructors teachers who was there with me with our students happened to be a few seats away. And as soon as the public school student sat in the seat next to me, he literally immediately put his hand in my bag. So those students are seeing things that are just not going to make them productive in society.
Yeah.
Right. I can agree with you there.
You know, it's amazing that they have this thing that they do every year in this area where I am, where they pull students out of school for a summer get together for like a day or two, and they have speakers come in and talk to these students. And I'm telling you, one speaker that came in was this officer. He was an ex officer. He ended up becoming a chief police, and he's black, and it was just incredible. I was there actually. They wanted me to record the event, and so as I was recording this event and I was watching some of these kids, this officer literally had to get in some of these kids' face because they were so irate
And
and disrespectful. I mean, it was like I'm sitting there watching this and I'm saying, I don't believe what I'm seeing here. And it's crazy though, because I remember when I was in school. Now you would figure if you go back as far back as I'm going back to when I was in high school, that things wasn't that bad then. But I remember when I was in the classroom and this boy came in and took another boy's seat and set his hat in this other boy's seat. When the boy came in the classroom, he wanted to sit down. He said, no, nobody's going to move my hat. And the teacher said, you have to move your hat. He said, nobody's moving my hat. So the teacher went over there, grabbed his hat, and put it on her desk. He got up and threw the desk at the teacher.
Wow.
Yes.
And so right now, I feel like we have to rescue our children out of these schools, and Ahayah Academy is going to do just that. Praise y'all for that.
Yes.
And you know, can I share something on it? I think it's just beautiful. I was talking with one of my friends, and she, you know, so we have different gifts, and she has a great ability to see and to sense. And all of a sudden she says, you know, Dee, I just see you with you and you guys are like in a tunnel, and y'all are hiding and carrying precious treasures through the tunnel. And I almost lost it because instantly I knew that those precious treasures were those children. And for her to use terms, hiding them through the tunnel. And I believe that's really what the Most High is doing. It's a way of escape. It's a shelter to protect our children, not even from what we see today, but from what's coming. To make it possible where our children are able to get a quality education and be safe, understand who the Most High is, who he is to them, what's required of them, how they are to live so that they can be what he's created them to be. I just think that's so important because I don't think we've seen what's to come yet. And we need to have a way to protect our children from it. And that's what Ahayah is, without compromising anything as it relates to the quality of their education.
Absolutely. And that is so very important. And I'm sure you all are thankful to the Most High every day for opening up this door and even giving you the vision. Um,
Every
I, Yes, every day, because our children, I don't think a lot of people understand how important our children are to our future. As I look around, not just in our communities, but even those who are awakened, I don't believe that there's enough invested in our children.
Yes.
When we get older and as we age and we even pass on, what are we leaving behind? We have to leave behind a wealth of information for our children, and I just don't see that happening. And it goes far beyond what they're going to get in any public school or private school. I believe that any type of education that your children are going to get has to be especially geared towards our culture as well. And I remember when we did have our homeschool open to the community, we would bring in various students, and there were just everyone had a different idea of how children were to be educated and raised, and so we did see some issues there. Um, One particular, we would take our children on field trips as well, and there's a doctor who lives in our community here. She's a Black doctor. She actually moved here around the same time that we did. And so she would actually come and teach our classes on Thursdays for us just to help out. Um, and when we would take the children on field trips, just like what you were saying, there would be a great difference in how our children behaved versus the children from the community. And at one
Right.
time, I remember there was a parent who asked if their child could come here, and he was actually kicked out of the public school because he brought weapons and he was threatening people and just all kinds of things. And I remember the doctor, she said, "Don't bring those children around my," she called our children her children too. She said, "Don't bring them around my kids. Don't bring those children here because there is a vast difference in children that are raised in the public school, and it's not their faults, okay? But at the same time, we do have to nurture our children and treat them like they are precious jewels." That really resonated
Right.
with me when you said that. And so, one field trip, Dr. Bradford, she actually took them to meet another doctor who worked at the hospital. And so we still have the image of the children um, taking pictures with two Black female doctors. And we knew that that would be a great inspiration for our children to be surrounded by those
Yes.
who stayed the course, who have learned how to be in that field. It takes a lot to be a doctor, and it was great.
Yes, absolutely. It's something when you think about the youth today and how they're growing up. I have a question that I want to ask you guys. How are you guys going to deal with it? One issue that we had to deal with when we dealt with other children that we would sometimes allow to come and homeschool with our kids is that a lot of the parents didn't really have a real motivation to help their children and be in their children's lives. Matter of fact, a lot of the work that we would put into the children would be undone the very next day. I mean, we send them home, and the kids would be just very disobedient to their parents, and the parents would still let them watch TV and video games all night long. We would have kids that sometimes come and the child couldn't focus on the work. He said, "Well, I was up all night playing video games." I mean, how do you deal with that when you have parents that don't really want to participate? They really want to just use your academy as a place to babysit their kids.
well,
Well, our relationship. Go ahead, Diane. Go ahead,
you
Dr. D.
start.
Oh, I was going to say that our relationship, our experiences, our relationship with our parents is really a special relationship. We actually, I would say, we co-parent. We're with their little ones several hours during the day, and so we communicate on the spot. We communicate through emails. We make sure that we're very in tune with explaining to the parents what they have done during the day and what happens at home at night. We potty train youngsters. We keep the older students, their parents, abreast of what they're learning and what they're doing in the classroom. And our parents have been really engaged. So we haven't experienced that quite yet.
Yeah, and I think what she said is right on. Just the understanding that we feel as though, I know it's the school, but we do have a responsibility to the children because we understand that the parents are pulled in so many different directions. That the reality is some of them don't have the time to sit down with their children at the end of the day or and go through schoolwork with them. But we have time built in our daily schedule where we're allowed to go through tutoring, reinforcing of information. We make that available at no additional cost because it's incorporated in our day. Now, when we do have a child that misbehaves, one of the things that we make a distinction between is whether or not something is sinful or if it was just not the best behavior. When it's a sinful item, we provide them with something called a think sheet. And we identify the sin where it's identified in the scripture, and we require them to reflect on it and to talk through it with their parents. What can they do differently? And they complete that think sheet with the assistance of their parents. Now, if we should get to the point where we find that a child is just where they're just not going to fit, then we would have to address that differently because we do believe that we have to protect all of our children. And at the same time, we believe that every child that comes to us, that there's something for them to do for the Most High. And so it's our responsibility to figure out whether or not we are equipped for them and if they belong to us. So it's just not, we don't look at it like the bad child. We look at, okay, what is it that we need to do for this child? Right. And at this point, being that we're so young at this, it's probably now, but we're really just establishing a culture where we partner with those parents. And we have to be able to show them where the errors exist and request that they help so that their child can stay with us.
Yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask, if you were going to be selective with the students that come into the environment, because there are children in the public school environment, some that are very, very in tune with education. They want to learn. And then there are those who don't want to learn. They have no interest in learning. And so that was going to be my next question. Are you going to deal with children that may have had severe problems in the public school with behavior and things of that nature?
Like you have some students that we had a couple of parents come and they were like, their child was literally in fights almost every day. And it's like, well, what do you do with that? I know one of the things we had to question ourselves, man, do we want them in here beating up our kids?
Yeah, see, we have to protect the children. And so if we have one student who actually started with us last year, and at this point, we did not intend to have any other children except so that we can go through the accreditation process. And a mom, she called and she says, I was really frustrated with what was going on with my son in the school. And she said the Most High just told her, look up Ahayah Academy.
Wow.
She said, just like that. She said it was just like that, Ahayah Academy. He hated school. And I said, well, we're still in my home. And she was like, I don't care. So she came and he's been with us. And it's like a 180. He loves coming to school, but he's still the same child. And we're nipping away at some of those behaviors. So he doesn't have to be, a little sneaky, that kind of kid. But he's a good kid and he's a smart, but he didn't believe in himself. And I said to myself, why is it that we have to get these young people to believe that they can learn when that's what they do naturally? what is happening in these environments that these children don't believe they can learn. So
Well,
we finally got,
go ahead.
yeah, we finally got over that hump, and now he's allowing himself to learn. And so sometimes these behaviors that we're seeing, because it's defense mechanisms that these children are using because they feel ashamed.
Well, it's called the
I like
miseducation of the Negro.
Yes.
We've seen that just in full force here in this country, especially. You know, there is no interest in teaching our children, and you are right; they are natural learners. But when they are in an environment that is not interested in them learning, then they are not going to teach them properly.
You
You
know,
see?
I find it amazing that we had one student that we were dealing with. This boy, he's a really nice boy, and his name was the same name of a very famous person in Black history,
Hmm.
and no one ever told him this. And this boy was like 12 years old, and he didn't know he had the same name of this famous person. And I don't really want to say his name,
Right.
you know. But
Okay.
anyway, he had this name, and he had no idea. And so when we told him, we said, "Do you know who you're named after?" He was like, "No." And so when we showed him, he was amazed, like, "Wow,
We actually prepared a lesson,
yes,
did a whole course for him and his sister surrounding this particular icon in history. And he was so excited when he shared that with his mom. He's like, "Mom, did you know my name was famous?" You see? And so we pulled out some excitement. And I said to myself, those people at that school
yes,
knew good and well what his name was. Why couldn't they build on that? Because there is no interest whatsoever in teaching our children. And I agree
exactly.
with what Malcolm X said. He said, only a fool would send his children to his enemy to be taught. Now, some may not agree with that, but I get what he's saying. Some of
yes,
our children have learned in those environments. I came through the public school and I learned in that environment.
yes."
But for the most part, if you look at the proof in the pudding, if you look around this country, they have failed our children
Yes,
profusely.
Yes.
yes. And
And
are
many,
failing.
and many times on purpose.
Absolutely.
Yes. That's right.
Absolutely. And so this is where, again, Ahayah Academy comes in. And I'm so grateful to be talking to you ladies right now because this is an exciting time. So many things are happening. There is a worldwide awakening to the truth of who we are as a people, and within that, there are other things that are happening too. The Most High is actually causing His people to shine in a way that we've never shined before. We are to be that light
Yes.
to the Gentiles and to those that are still sleepers. We are to be that light. And what better way to shine that light than to educate? And I was also glad to hear that you all are going to be dealing with agriculture. Anyone who follows our ministry knows that that is a big part of
Yes.
what we teach as well. We have lessons specifically on agriculture because there are many aspects of science that are out there, but we like to focus on the science of agriculture because that is more than the wave of the future. It is a necessity. Knowing how to grow food is very important. And we started our children off a long time ago learning how to identify herbs or
Yeah.
weeds that are edible so that if they're ever out in the field and something is going on in the world and there's no food, we can identify what is actually food without poisoning ourselves. These are the things that they're not going to learn in public school. So we've made it a very, very important part of our learning process here in our home. And so I was
One,
glad to hear that you all are going to be teaching agriculture as well.
yes, it's necessary, especially when we just don't know what's going to happen, and then we have to get to the point where we become self-sufficient. There has to be an aspect to us where we're able to provide our own food, to make our own clothing. All of those things are necessary so that we can truly be self-sufficient, so we can have a strong community. Without it, you really don't have a community. And I think that's the state of where we are today.
Yes. And to hear that you all are going to be collaborating with others as well in your area and other areas as well. This is definitely going to cause things to expand the way that they should, where there's going to be, and that brings me to my next question. How many instructors do you all have, and what is the goal?
Well, right now there are 5 of us, but we are planning, and we commit all our plans to the Most High, and He will do the rest. We are planning to have 50 students in our physical location before the year ends, and 75 online. With the 75 online, it's our desire to hire 3 teachers to support that population.
Well, that
Wow,
is a
that's awesome.
wonderful goal. That's a wonderful goal. Starting off at a very humble position and then just growing from there. And then it's like you plant that seed, one plants, another sows.
Yes.
Yah will give that increase in the time that it's required. And I definitely enjoy what you are doing, and seeing this vision unfold is great.
Yes, it's I found it kind of interesting. You guys will be able to take students that are from other areas that possibly can't drive to your location with an online courses of some sort. That sounds really nice.
And
So they can pretty much can be children from another state, pretty much. Then is that what you're saying?
exactly. That's why we pursued national accreditation first,
Hmm.
so
Yes.
that we're covered throughout the whole country. And then of course, just because we are really big on academic accountability, we truly want to be found flawless. We don't want anybody to be able to say anything about what we're doing or challenge what we
Right.
do. So we're even pursuing local accreditation and regional. So, but we
Wow.
started with national so that we can extend ourselves to the community throughout the whole country. And so that's what that online element is. And so we make it seem like, although you're online, you're still part of a community. With a
Wow.
teacher, you work in small groups, everything. And then also just the homeschoolers. If you just want to homeschool and you need us for maybe some technical support, answer a couple of questions for you. And when your child graduates, they graduate as an Ahayah Academy student, fine. That's available to you as well. And of course, there is a fee structure associated with each delivery modality, and with the homeschooling option being the least expensive.
Well, you know what? I just want to say to our listeners, those of you out here that are listening, that have children, and you want to get your children out of the public school system. My wife, what do you call it?
I call it the public food system.
Yeah, exactly. If you're looking at, you want to get your kids out of this system that's out here, and you don't know what to do. And I know we've got a lot of people that contact us, and they just don't know what to do with their children. Like, I don't know what to do, and but here's an opportunity for you that you can enroll your kids in a higher academy. And I mean, this is awesome.
Hmm.
This is really awesome, and your kids will get a sense of being a part of something that's important, and something that's behind, that the Most High is behind, and that's going to grow. Hallelujah.
Absolutely. This is
Amen.
wonderful, and I'm so glad to have this opportunity to interview you all and get this information out there. Um, the Most High's will, this will take wings and fly.
Yes,
All praises.
We'll
absolutely.
receive that. Amen.
All praises. And,
And so,
and
did you all have anything else that you wanted to say to our listening audience about Ahaya Academy, and what your goals are and how to contact you, all of that good stuff?
Website info.
I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank you for this interview, and thank you to our listeners. We're always available either online through www.ahayahacademy.org. That's AHAYAH academy.org. Um, and you can reach us online. And of course, we have a phone line as well. Diana, can you give that number, please? That
oh,
888.
sure. We Our toll-free number is 888-459-5537. That's 888-459-5537. And the local number is 678-545-4528. Again, that's 545-4528. And our email address is admin@ahayahacademy.org. That's ADMIN at ahayahacademy.org. And I too just want to say I thank you so much, Watchman and Sister Deborah, for interviewing us, and also to the community. We have been receiving so many calls from people and support. There are a couple of sisters who have just been such a blessing to us. They said that they know that the Most High is involved in this. They heard one of our interviews, and they have literally just blessed the school within. They just said that they're there to support us. And we have people another individual who has a clothing line. He has volunteered to help get our uniforms. I think it's Tweed, TWID. We just want to say.
Hallelujah.
And a couple of people volunteered just to join our board. And so we thank you all so much for being responsive and receiving us so well and helping us to do what the Most High has given us. We just give him all the praise, all the glory, and all the honor.
Well, this is amazing,
Yes.
ladies. We are so glad to have had this opportunity to help share this information. All of their contact information has been put out there. If you have any questions at all, you have many ways to contact them, many ways. And I'm pretty sure that at some point you're going to grow beyond the capacity that you've stated right now. So you might want to get yourselves ready because we know so many people that want to homeschool, need some assistance, or would love to do or go to your physical location. And so all I can say is get ready, ladies. Yah willing, if it's Yah's will, this thing is going to really take wings because it is definitely a need among our people. Absolutely. One last question. Is this only for the children of Yah, or will Gentiles be allowed to come aboard as well?
Gentiles are allowed. Anyone who desires to learn with us, they're welcome, as long as they understand how we operate and respect that, where the doors are open.
Wonderful.
All right.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, we'd like to thank you, ladies.
Yes.
And anyone who wants to get in touch with Dr. Echols. And Robyn, is that your name?
Robyn Richardson, yes.
Okay. You have their contact information, and we will also include it in the link below the video, so that will make it a lot easier for you to access their website. We thank you all for this time, and I guess we will go ahead and close out unless you all have anything additional you'd like to say to our listening audience.
No, just thank you.
Okay, well, shalom, family. Thanks again.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Until we speak again, shalom to you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.